you can you see the slides?
Yes, I can. I can see the slides.
Okay.
1 minute. I'm just going live on Facebook.
Perfect.
Okay.
Somehow only my
Yeah,
slides
then
I
I'll
cannot.
go. No, just use your right arrow and move the slides. Don't have to do anything else.
No, the slides are getting hanged, so it's not going ahead. That's the only thing. How do I do this?
And it moves. You can use the right arrow. I'll move it for you if you want to, as you're talking.
Yeah, that'll be great. But it's right now I can't see anything on my slide. If you see here.
The nosodes and sarcodes are there on your slide, on your screen.
Now I can see. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Uh, so welcome everybody to this webinar with Dr. Gaurang. He's going to talk about his favorite subject, which is nosodes and sarcodes. Uh, Dr. Gaurang doesn't need an introduction. So, without much ado, I'll ask Dr. Gaurang to go ahead with the webinar. Dr. Gaurang, it's all yours now.
All right. Okay.
You're on.
So thank you for giving me this platform to share some ideas. And I'm going to talk about not my absolute favorite topic. My favorite topic remains anything in homeopathy. But this is a book that I've written about, so I thought it's a good idea to share about this. So we
Right.
are going to talk a little bit about nosodes and sarcodes today. I'll just. Okay, so let's start from the basics. What does nosode mean? So the Greek word noso is a prefix indicating a morbid root, and it is connected with the word noxo, which means the noxious and a damaging product. Interestingly, Herring was the first person who actually used this practice. There are different types of nosodes, and I'm actually telling you from the book that I have written on nosodes and sarcodes. There are different types of nosodes. There is a basic nosode, which is Sorinum, Bacillinum, Syphilinum, Medorinum, Carcinosin. There is exanthemous nosodes, which means they are nosodes prepared from eruptions like Morbillinum from measles, Parotidinum, Vaccinum, Pertussinum. There is isopathic nosode, which means Streptococcus, Pneumococcus, Staphylococcinum, Malaria officinalis, which also I use a lot in my practice. Autogenous nosode. This is something that Grimmer would use very often, which means that he would actually take the secretion from the pathological tissues. Like, for example, very well known from a breast abscess, he would actually take the discharge and prepare a remedy prepared from it and treat that remedy for the patient, called as tautopathy. Also, intestinal nosode, which is bowel nosodes, which also I use a lot in my practice. You can also read about this in my book. So, what I'm going to do for you are three things. I'm going to first tell you when do we use nosodes. When do we exactly know that this is when we use nosodes? And then I'll tell you a little bit about 2 or 3 common nosodes which I use. And if we get some time towards the end, we will also talk a little bit about sarcodes. So important keynotes of nosodes. When do I know that I'm going to use nosodes in my practice? Number one, especially when I see never well since. So if I see in a case that a patient is never well since pneumonia, or never well since typhoid, or never well since puberty, pregnancy, when I get a clear cut indication, something like that, that often is one of the very key feature for me of nosodes. Another very important feature for me of nosodes is means if in a given case if you're helping, that in some cases there are lack of symptoms, but just a little bit of miasmatic background that I see. Even in that, I think about nosodes. And finally, when partial picture of constitutional remedies are seen, I think about a nosode. What are the other indications? Number one, constantly changing symptoms. If I see symptoms are constantly changing, one day there is one group of symptoms, second day there's another group of symptoms, I think about nosodes. When there's a developmental issue of an organ or a system, I think about a nosode. Lack of reaction, I spoke to you about this. Block in a case. So in a given case, when you're treating a particular case, but there is a kind of a block and it's not going ahead, I think about nosodes. T deformities. When I see typically serrated teeth, if you open this in repertory, a serrated teeth, you will see many, many nosodes there. You will see basilinum, tuberculinum, syphilinum, hair loss frequently in the family, past history, family history of a lot of eczema, gives me an indication of sorinum, and history of recurrent illnesses, a nosode, which I use a lot in my, which is
Hello.
Okay, have a look now. I think you can see me.
Yeah, I think I've seen your webcam turned on.
And now,
Yeah, you sure? Yeah, in a while I'll see you.
just check.
You sure? Yeah, in a while I'll see you. Now it's gone off. Now it's gone off. Oh, now it's coming.
Are you able to hear me? Do you want me to start?
No, I can't hear you as well.
Hello,
No, I
hello,
can't hear
hello.
you. You keep going
Ah,
on and off.
hmm.
Okay, I'm back on now.
No idea.
Your video's not yet come on. I mean, I'm not able to see you yet.
I don't know actually. Some people are writing that they can now hear me on the message.
Ah, we can see you now.
You sure?
Yeah, I can see
Chalo,
you
we'll
again.
give it a shot again. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Strange times comes for strange measures. Let's come back. So Medorhinum we were talking about. So I'm going to very quickly browse you through Medorhinum. So I think Medorhinum is one of the most interesting remedy, but very neglected remedy in our practice, because you would think of Medorhinum when you'll think about a little bit of calcarea, a little bit of calcium, a little bit of phosphorus, a little bit of sulfur, a little bit of causticum. When you see pictures of different remedy, that often is an indication for me to use a nose. And created in chronic, deep pathological conditions, typically neurological conditions where spinal cord and sympathetic nervous system is affected, and typically in chronic pelvic disorders of females, so typically in hormonal disorders. Are you able to hear me? Hello? Interestingly, if one goes through
Yes.
the repertory, you can hear me. Okay. So interestingly, if you actually study the repertory, and repertory is um, my heart, my love remains in repertory. If you study repertory, there are more than 110 cravings of Medorhinum. This is the maximum cravings in homeopathy. This is very interesting because this is who Medorhinum is. Medorhinum is an absolute foodie, very, very undisciplined, careless, and will be the one who will have typical food junk cravings. This is typical for Medorhinum. What will you see? Medorhinum wants. So I'm going to give you a little cravings of Medorhinum. Medorhinum has craving for carbonated drinks. They want Pepsi, Coke, Kala Khatta typically. Medorhinum also wants citrus fruits, typically craving for. Medorhinum also wants cold food. So they will eat food, but from the fridge. So they will eat warm food, put it in the fridge, and then eat it. This is typical for Medorhinum. They'll want very starchy food, a lot of pastas, fish, march, fried food, extreme craving for fried food. So Medorhinum you'll typically find in KFC and McDonald's. A special craving for green color fruits. This is typical for Medorhinum. And very importantly, craving for hard fruit. And that's why they like raw fruits more than kind of fruits which are juicy. Juicy fruits are more phosphorus and phosphoric acid. Sour fruits. This I spoke about. Ice cream craving also, along with phosphorus, think about Medorhinum. Onion is a strong craving, but it's also an aggravating factor for Medorhinum. Orange juice aggravates is also Medorhinum. A lot of desire for salads is also Medorhinum, and desire for salt. Sweet and sour is a very, very special craving for Medorhinum. You know, one of my teacher, Dr. Sankaran, often says craving for pani puri. And people who are not from India and who are watching this, pani puri is like a bomb. It's like a bomb made up of all kinds of crazy Indian foods, and you put inside, it just explodes inside you. So craving for sweet, sour, and salty. When you put all these three together, this is Medorhinum. Also, a lot of desire for tomatoes is also typically Medorhinum. and you'll see typical fast food cravings. So that's bhel puri, pani puri, dosa, burgers. When you see all this together, this is Mediterranean. Are you able to hear me? Okay, say yes.
Yes, all clear.
It's all clear. So, um, all right, let's go ahead. So Medorinum typically will have different qualities of different remedies. They will have pulsatilla like sensitivity, arsenic like anxiety, silica like timidity, phosphorus like sympatheticness, and hyos like sexuality. They are also very close to thuja, but while thuja is very chilly and thuja always likes bath by warm water, Medorinum is very hot patient. So now let's try to understand the state of mind of Medorinum. They have extreme anxiety. They have extreme anxiety and insecurity, like arsenic alb. I think we are. Can you hear me now? Did you lose me again? Any luck, Mr. Karthik? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Go on.
Okay,
Go on.
you can hear me. Superb. Anxious, very hypochondriacal as well. My slides are not going ahead. Unfortunately, today looks like a bad day. Okay. They can also be very avaricious. They are not people who will like to spend too much of money. Can you hear me now? Okay. No,
Yes, yes, we can. Go ahead.
Medorinum can be a very important remedy for OCD patients, and that's why many patients who constantly want to wash their hands constantly. This is typically a common indication for all nosodes. So you can see in this rubric, you can see Medorinum, you can see Sorinum, you can also see Syphilinum. So this constant wanting to wash hands and OCD is often an indication for me for Medorinum. It also has qualities like causticum, so they are very sympathetic, very caring. Medorinum can be also. Let's go ahead. So full of relatives about. They would constantly be worried about other people and how they are. Forgetfulness. This is a very typical indication of Medorinum. So suppose a Medorinum patient is talking to you, and suddenly someone speaks in middle. He will just forget what he was talking about. So this is what is called as. What is this called as? Tell me. Maybe someone can write in the chat. What is this called as? Medorinum patient is talking to someone and someone talks in middle. What would this called as? No idea. Okay. So I'll tell you. Loses the thread of conversation. Loses the thread of conversation. This happens to me very often, interestingly, especially when the system is so amazing as we have here. Forgetfulness to do what he's about to do, forgetfulness of names. So a lot of forgetfulness. Forgetfulness for names of persons, numbers, typically very bad at mathematics. Medorinum will be forgetfulness for what he has read, what he has said, what he's about to say also. Cannot even finish the sentences. So very forgetful. Medorinum can be. One of the most forgetful patients ever is Medorrhinum. And constant feeling, oh, I'm forgetting something. What did I forget? This is Medorrhinum. Also, Medorrhinum, very importantly, can be very vulgar and shameless. They are very perverse mentality. Their mentality is very perverse. There's a lot of pervert sexuality. This is Medorrhinum. And the thing about them is that they will not openly speak about it like Hyoscyamus. So they are very secretive. They'll have this kind of sexual fantasies which are very perverse in that way. Homosexuality, although I believe homosexuality is a choice, but still, this is often very, very pervert in Medorrhinums. Um, the very important indication of Medorrhinum, I've said this before, love for forbidden things. This is very important. Especially they have desire for all kind of forbidden things. Naked wants to be in the sleep. Now I'll tell you something very interesting. In my experience, many homeopaths needed Medorrhinum as a remedy. Maybe it is to do with a lot of homeopaths in India, people who are always avoiding, people who are always accepting, can often be Medorrhinum. Also very sensitive, so Medorrhinum patients can be as sensitive as pulsatilla. There's a very interesting rubric, weeping telling about one's complaint when over and over again. So pulsatilla will come and tell you the problem and cry, but Medorrhinum will keep telling about the problem and still keep trying. This is Medorrhinum. Interesting, no? Let's go ahead. Like phosphorus, very sympathetic towards animals, huh? But one of the gold genius of Medorrhinum is postponing. They tend to postpone a lot. They'll say, I'll do later. So they will often take an appointment with you and they'll say, oh, I can't make it today. I'll come after 7 days. This is Medorrhinum. Postponing everything to next day. Business seems so prolonged as if it can never be accomplished. One of my teacher, Dr. Sarkar, uses Medorrhinum often in cerebral palsy with serrated teeth. Dr. Banerjee in Banerjee protocol uses Medorrhinum in chronic renal failures. Let's go ahead. Medorrhinum is absolute skin specialist, which means any kind of dark color spots remaining after eczema or after eruption. Think about Medorrhinum. So Medorrhinum is a remedy which will be very useful for people who want to help patients with many skin problems. But one of the most important things where I've used Medorrhinum beautifully is especially in infertility. In infertility, I have used Medorrhinum very often, not just in male infertility, but even in female infertility. Many cases of PCOD, ovarian cyst, I have treated with Medorrhinum, interestingly. Um, let's go ahead. Very important remedy for musculoskeletal system. Also, it's a remedy that I've used a lot in fibromyalgia and also in Achilles heel, in tendinitis of the heel. Let's go ahead. So Medorrhinum typically will have lot of hairs on the arms. You will see their arms and you'll see very hairy arms. Hairy arms is Medorrhinum. There's a beautiful materia medica, black letter symptoms from Emil Tyler. One of the key indication Emil Tyler says time moves very slowly. This is Medorrhinum. My teacher, Dr. Sankaran, says a very interesting feature about Medorrhinum, that their main state is, I am okay as long as my weakness is covered up. So they are very scared of being exposed. Can you hear me, Mr. Karthik? Any luck with
Yes,
voice,
yes,
audio?
yes. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, a lot of people are saying that they can't hear
I
things.
know. There. No, I'm watching that. Go ahead. We can all hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, let's go to the next remedy. Maybe we have time for one more remedy. Streptococcin, very important remedy in today's time, especially with COVID-19. And for a lot of participants who are watching, the nosodes are going to be very useful for a lot of your patients in COVID-19, especially in the coming months where the immune system is low. Streptococcin could be a very important remedy. Streptococcin is a remedy prepared from Streptococcus pyogenes. And what's the main genius of this remedy? Recurrent throat infections, recurrent boils, never well since any infections, aggravation by sympathy, and lot of chilliness within. So when you see this genius together, this is streptococcinum. ML Tyler writes in her Matina Medica, streptococcinum is a mighty medicine, and especially um, in any kind of chronic infection, you should think about streptococcinum. And very often, in a case of sudden chill, sudden fever, when I know there is a history of kind of throat infection, I straight away start with streptococcin 1M. And streptococcin and pyrogen comes very close. Remember the difference. Streptococcin, the tongue is very red, while pyrogen, the tongue is very shiny. So this is how you differentiate. I use streptococcin a lot in children's cases, and in children's cases with frequent infections. Frequent infection, think about it. Very important acute renal failure with history of throat infection. Only other remedy you should think about is eel serum, also vipera. And in acute arthritis, whenever patients tell me I get throat infection and then I get joint problems, I think about streptococcin 200. So this is a little bit about streptococcin. S.C. Ghosh writes a lot about streptococcinum, and streptococcinum, he writes, is a very important remedy for acute bacillary dysentery. What are the confirmatory symptoms for streptococcinum? Relapsing throat infection, weeping when given sympathy, um, sore throat, especially after washing hair, very low septic state with dysentery and clean tongue. So these are all common indication for streptococcinum. Very much aggravated by consolation, humid weather, and better by open air. Good. Are you able to hear me okay? Can I go to
Yes,
the
yes, we're all right. Yes, you can go
okay.
on.
A lot of people from Facebook are writing to me that we can't hear again. Please speak again. I'm sorry, I can't do much. I'm so sorry. I wish I can do something for you. Okay. I'm going to just take a chance and go ahead.
Go on.
Let's go. We'll go to the next remedy. We'll talk about tuberculinum avis. So, not many people talk about tuberculinum avis, but I use this a lot in in my clinical practice. Tuberculinum avis is one of the tuberculinums, and there are 28 types of tuberculinums. I've written about this in so much detail in my book, Materia Medica of Sarcodes and Nosodes. So, there are 28 types of tuberculinums. There is Bacillinum testicum, Tuberculinum avis, Tuberculinum marmorec, Tuberculinum residium, so many different types. This tuberculinum is going to be very important in today's time in COVID-19 situation, especially in children's cases. So it is actually prepared from tuberculosis of the chicken, of the bird, and it was actually introduced by Cartier and other homeopaths from Paris, from France. What is the indication? Dry cough with a lot of wheezing with tuberculomyasm. When tuberculinum fails, think about tuberculinum avis, and especially the key indication is you can see here post-influenza when fever and cough remains with weakness. So when there is an infection, any kind of viral infection, and cough and fever remains, think about tuberculinum avis, just one dose 200. And even in children's cases with recurrent chest infection, recurrent ear infection, think about tuberculinum avis. It's a little bit about tuberculinum avis. Let's go ahead. And maybe I can talk about, um, let me do one thing. I'll talk a little bit about one more very quick nosode, and then we'll try to go towards sarcodes. So I'm able to just talk a little bit about everything. Hmm. Oscillococcinum, very, very interesting remedy in today's times. Especially what the keynote, it can be a very important preventive as well as during COVID convalescence of any kind of flu, given by Pierre Schmidt from Geneva. And a lot of work was done by many different homeopaths. Pierre Schmidt used this remedy a lot, and that's why this could be an interesting remedy for today's time. Hui Bun Hua has spoken a lot about using oscillococcinum in many viral infections. Read about this at some point. It's a complementary to carcinosin. I'm going to just go ahead. Okay, we'll go to the topic of sarcodes. Okay. So what are sarcodes? And this is also a very, very interesting topic. I work on this a lot, and I've written a book about sarcodes. And I hope some of you actually read about this book of mine. Sarcodes are remedies made from healthy human beings and animal tissue, and normal healthy function of one part, especially hormones. So either there is a lot of lack of action or either exaggeration of function. So either there's exaggeration or underdeveloped. There's something between each other with sarcodes. There are many, many remedies in sarcodes you should know. Thyroidinum, cortisone, pituitrinum. I use these remedies a lot. Pancreatinum, adrenaline. Beautiful, beautiful remedies in clinical practice. What the genius? Lack of reaction. So in many, many hormonal cases, in today's time, I see a lot of cases of PCOD. I see a lot of cases of thyroid. I use a lot of these remedies here. Alternating state of mind, I also think about sarcodes. Very, very important intercurrent remedy as well. And very important in metabolic disorders as well. So maybe I'll talk about two or three sarcodes which I use in my practice. Insulinum is one of them. So maybe I'll talk about two or three sarcodes and then
Shit.
can you hear me? Mr. Karthik, can you hear me? I tried to log in again. Hello? You can hear. Okay, let's go ahead. So I was talking about sarcodes. I'm going to quickly talk about few sarcodes because there is so much of material I'm excited to talk to you about. But I think we are very bad in system today, unfortunately. So I'll talk about two or three sarcodes which I use in my practice. Insulinum, I use this remedy a lot. It's insulinum, as you know, is the enzyme which is produced from pancreas, which affects the sugar metabolism. It's one of the most underrated remedies in today's time. What is it used in? I use it a lot in fluctuating blood sugar. So if you're seeing cases of diabetes where the blood sugar is too much going up and down, you can use insulinum 30 with beautiful results. Um, Also very important in juvenile diabetes and chronic intestinal disorder where there's a lot of looseness of bowels and especially in liver pathologies. Hepatitis, think about this remedy. It's a very important remedy as an intercurrent. Insulinum is chronic otorrhea, mastocytitis, very important as well. Chronic abscesses, diabetic foot. Think about this remedy and think about cyzesium. What else? Liver pathology. I told you in cirrhosis, I use this remedy. Recurrent infections. Think about it. A lot of weakness like China arsenic and low immune system. This is typically insulinum. Also in children's cases, obese child, late dentition, large head, pot bellied, and irritability like SINA. Think about insulinum. Let's move forward. Maybe I have time for one more. um,
Yeah.
remedy. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So also Muzumdar has done a lot of work on insulinum, and he used insulinum 30, 200, three times a day for reducing blood sugar with beautiful results. So this is something that we need to work on as homeopaths. A lot of provings has been done by insulinum by P. Sankar and Matani. One of the key indications, vertigo when hungry, a lot of hair fall, throat pains when swallowing liquid, and a lot of back pain when sitting. These are some important indications. One last remedy I'm going to talk to you about in Sarcodes, and then maybe I can take a couple of questions. Uforinum, yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful remedy that I use a lot. And this is so important because in today's time, with so many ovarian cyst, endometriosis, and cases of PCOD, you need to know this remedy is really, really well. Uforinum is the ovarian extract. It's a sarcode. It's actually prepared from ovarian gland of the sheep or the cow, and it is a very, very important remedy in infertility and PCOD, especially when there is a lot of big acne. When selected remedy fails, when you're giving pulsatilla, sepia, calcarea, it's not helping. In case of infertility and PCOS, think about this remedy Uforinum, and read about it in my book. It's beautifully written in my book. What are the few indications? I'll tell you. It's very important. Climacteric also. Hot flushes better by open air. A lot of knee pains. A lot of acne. Climacteric flushing. It's very important keynote. Better by menses. This is like zincum metallicum and lachesis. An obstinate case of endometriosis. A lot of cases have been defined about Uforinum. N.M. Chaudhary has written a lot about Uforinum as well. One of the very important indication, aversion to meat, given by Kent Repertory, single drug rubric, Uforinum. Another very last remedy. There is so much I want to talk about. I wish we had time. Testes testosterone. This is a remedy I use a lot. It's a remedy prepared from male hormone, especially in low levels of testosterone, even in females with fatigue, low sexual desire, a loss of libido. I use this remedy a lot. A lot of deep hoarse and voice, growth of clitoris, menstrual irregularities in female, and in male especially. I use this remedy in aggressive behavior with azoospermia or sperm count is low. I think about this remedy. Hair loss, reduced bone mass, reduction of sexual desire. Think about this remedy. Beautiful, beautiful remedy. Testes or testosterone. So this is my email ID, gorang@gmail.com. Write to me about the talk. I know today's talk, due to technical things, I couldn't do it so well, but that's how life is. Life is strange. When life gives you a lemon, you make a lemonade. That's what I heard long time back, and that's what I try to do. So write an email to me what you found interesting. I've written 2 books recently on Sarcode, Nosode, and Mind rubrics. You can write to me if you want these books. I can courier you these books. Watch my YouTube channel, Homeopathic Hub. I've written. I made more than 300 videos on it, and also you can watch about. I do Materia Medica series live on my channel. You can watch it, and yeah, stay safe, stay blessed, and be the best version of yourself. That's what I'll tell you for now. Some questions, maybe I can take a couple of questions. From few participants. Some known faces. Marlon Friedman, how are you doing, Marlon? And Pooja Kadam. Yes, books are in English. I know very few languages. Maybe some questions I can take, one or two. Mr. Karthik, any questions you can go across? Can you ship your book to Toronto? Absolutely,
Toronto. Yes.
everywhere. Can we have a replay? Unfortunately,
Yes,
no.
they
Not.
have. Yes.
I don't know.
They
I can't
have.
do it again. But Karthik can help you maybe. Sir, in which cases Nosodes Sarcodes?
Yeah,
You
the
can read my
recording
book.
is. Yeah.
Recording can happen. Yeah. Any experience with folliculinum? Yes, I use a lot of folliculinum in many cases of PCOD. Toronto, Malin, my books are with Laurie Dack in Vancouver, so you can get it from her. You can just email me, I'll tell you. Nizar, just email me. My email ID is here, I can tell you. How do you get so much of passion? Well, you get life to live only once, right? Are you available for online consultation? I don't like online consultation, but you can email me. Kyle, how are you doing, Kyle? Chlamydia is Modern Medorinum, written by Sarkar. Kylie, the book just you see is written. It's a notes written by me about Dr. Sarkar. So a lot of ideas are made by me and Dr. Sarkar together. So chlamydia is something I spoke about. Is Modern Medorinum? Yes. How to differentiate? Chlamydia is an important remedy for vaginal cancer. Afreen, can you talk about posology? I am nosodes are better to use in high potency. Sir, we want more lecture. Allen's keynotes. Yes, at some point. Can we start PCOD with uforinum? Yes, if indications are there. Some more questions. Uforinum, what potency? It depends on the type of case. Depends on the type of case. What is complementary to carcinosin? Folliculinum is complementary to carcinosin. Celestine, name of the book. You can see there, sarcodes and nosodes. Just email me. Any other question?
I think that's about it.
Do you accept
You accept
PayPal?
PayPal.
Just email me, I'll talk to you. What is better for autoimmune? Nosodes or sarcode? Only indicated remedy. Please do series. Yes, I want to do. I'm a little tired. I did too many webinars, but I'm going to start again. Edel, thank you, thank you. Series. Yes, I'm going to start again, but I'm just a little bit recovering from a little bit. Osteoarthritic nosode. Yes, I use this remedy a lot. You know, I can talk about. Yeah, I can talk about nosode sarcode for about 7 days flat. Insulinum. Yes, I use it a lot. Riva. Yeah, waiting for series. Yeah, I'm also waiting. Veer Davinder Singh, कैसे हैं आप Davinder ji? Elizabeth Turos, difference between medorinum and lacaninum in forgetfulness. Elizabeth, you know it. Come on. Okay, medorinum has a problem with memory when someone interrupts in between. Nenica, bacillinum or ringworm, they are different remedies altogether. Bacillinum is tuberculomyces. Polyarthritis nodose. Hardik, I have not used this remedy. I'm not so advanced. Line rose. Thank you. Thank you. Some more questions. Ruchika. In case of PCOD, if medorinum is indicated, what potency? I like to use LM potency, 0/1. How do we get your books? My email ID is here, gorangedgy@gmail.com. Sarvesh, insulinum, very enlightening. Pleasure is mine. Pleasure is mine. Yes, eel serum can be used for CKD, but for acute renal failure. Akshaya, how are you doing, Akshaya? Sir, will you take webinar on Patak repertory? Yeah, if Karthik agrees, it depends on Mr. Karthik or Dr. Pratik. Or Dr. Pratik. If Mr. Karthik can
Definitely.
change, if Mr.
Definitely.
Karthik if Mr. Karthik can change the webinar platform, I'll come again. Nupur
Definitely. We'll
Singh,
do that.
Nupur Singh, amenorrhea in use of nosode. You have to find the indicated remedy. There is no shortcut in homeopathy. Nitin, sir, indication of histaminem. Impatience. Impatience when waiting is histaminem. Some more questions. Hyposanium,
Hyposania.
yeah, very important remedy for chest infections. Very important remedy for chronic chest infection, Maitri. You have to fall in love with Matina Medica and repertory. You'll get your answers. What about tubal block? Can we help? I haven't seen too many cases, to be honest, Swarna. Of tubal block, I have not seen too many cases which are reversed. But if it's a primary infertility, I've helped a lot of cases. In thyroid cases, which potency? It depends on case to case, Lavkush. Every case is different. I've used 6 potency and also CM potency, also LM potency, no? Suggest me sarcodes for gynecomastia. Nityashri, there is no remedy for a disease, there's a remedy for a human being. Marcia, my gratitude. How are you doing, Marcia? We are missing you in India. Hardik, about X-ray. Yeah, X-ray is a very important remedy. Chronic psoriasis, think about it. Vibhor, if we are to remove miasmatic block, you have to give the indicated remedy, Vibhor. In thyroid, how much repetition? Depends from case to case. Yamini, how are you doing? How's your thing going on? Yes, 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 Marcy. I miss you. Miss all our friends. I wish I was in Switzerland right now. I would have been right now in one of the seminars in Geneva. Bhairavi, can we use thyroidinum? Absolutely, if it's indicated. Yamini, great gratitude, pleasure. Pleasure is mine. Neha, can Nosodes Sarcode help in case of impaired hearing? Yes, if indicated. Yes, if indicated. No shortcuts, Neha. What else? Difference. Lekha ji asked me difference between folliculinum, oophorinum. Folliculinum, there's a history of a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of domination. Folliculinum is little bit like carcinosin. Pulmo vulpis and intestinal lung disease. I haven't used pulmo vulpis. Akshaya, Marta, Candida albicans are a very important remedy for fungal potency. I would use 200 potency. Jitesh, how are you doing, Jitesh? How are you doing? Neha, it is difficult to select potency. Yes, read my book Sarcodes and Nosodes. It will help you, Neha. Maybe I have time for two more questions and then we can call it a day. Can we use Nosode and Sarcode in aging process problems? Anand, what has happened to you, Anand? Age gracefully. Aging is a good thing. Why do you want to use medicines? What else? Remedy for varicose veins. Find the indicated remedy. Sita Lakshmi, thank you, sir. Your sessions are always best to hear. Thank you. Pleasure is mine. Can you take webinar on miasms? Yes, I'll take webinar on everything, Riva, at some point. Love Kush, case taking, yes, at some point, Love Kush. Please start MM series. Yes, I'm planning to start. I'm planning to start. Give me some time. 7 दिन दे दीजिए. Okay, so I'm going to say a bye bye to all of you. This is my email ID. Please write to me. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Karthik, for inviting me, and it's always a pleasure to come to different platforms. I hope, Karthik, you do something about the platform so that we can do it a little better next time.
Definitely, we'll do that, Dr. Gaurav.
Absolutely.
We
Thank
look
you.
forward
Thank
to
you.
having you again. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So bye from here.
All right, then.
Namaste from Mumbai. Namaste from Mumbai.
Bye bye. So thank you all for coming, and I'm sorry we had a little bit of tech issue there with his camera. Uh, you'll all have a mail which says that you can see the recording. So maybe it'll happen sometime tomorrow. So until then, we hope to see you again in our next webinar. All right then. Bye bye.